Now we're going to do our second strike, which is going to be the cross. The cross is going to be striking with my fist on the same side as the rear leg. And that strike is going to look like this. The same thing happens with the fist that happened during the jab. It goes from vertical to horizontal. And that's not just an arbitrary decision that is driven by the rotation of the core that makes the fist turn over to that horizontal position. You'll also see that the right leg, as it shifts forward, pivots in with the ankle and the toes pushing against the ground as that happens. So my right leg does not go into extension, meaning the knee does not extend like this. The right knee stays flexed as I push forwards. So let's show that again. I'm starting in set, flexion of my left hip and torsional rotation on the right. And I'm going to continue the torsional rotation on the right and extend the right hip, and that is what is going to create the strike. This is the core technique of push. Extension of the active hip, torsional rotation on the same side as the active hip. That is push. You can see the inward pivot of the foot and the hip, and then I'm going to sink back using sink, and then settle back into the original position using set. That's kind of why I termed that core technique set, because it is what we use when we're getting set up for a lot of different motions. And so that is set, push, sink, set. Turn sideways, set, push, sink, set. I didn't mention earlier that each of the core techniques is associated with a very specific action of our peripheral joints. And when I say our peripheral joints, I mean the knees and the ankles. So each core technique, whenever we're using it, is going to have a specific knee and ankle action associated with it. When I do push, the associated peripheral actions are always flexion of the knee on the side opposite the extending hip. Meaning when I push with my right hip, my left knee flexes. The other peripheral action we get with push is extension or plantar flexion of the ankle on the side of the active hip. So when I do a push, my ankle on the side of the active hip, which is my right hip, is going to plantar flex or push down against the ground. What we'll note is that during push, we don't have extension of the knee on the side of the active hip, which is why the knee stays flexed during the motion. There's no action by that core movement that triggers my right knee to extend. So I'm shifting forward by pushing off the ground with my right hip, but not by extending my right knee. If I actually extend my right knee, that will throw me off of my vertical position. And that is the real meaning of all the core techniques. When you use the core techniques correctly, your body will stay vertical. If you use them incorrectly, with either the core or with one of the peripheral joints, you will end up throwing your body off of that vertical axis, and that's what lends itself to poor posture, heavy heel strike when you're walking, and that's why it's really good to learn how to use these core techniques properly. So we have the cross, which is generated with the core technique of push, sink, back, set.